Um, well, and here this, what is it? I don't know. Have you ever heard of the one sentence persuasion course? So this is it is literally one sentence, and this describes so much of the marketing of probably at least the past 10 years, and definitely the past 3 and 4. Um, I don't know if I'm allowed to read this, but to heck with it. So the one sentence is: people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. And that's why those 1-star reviews work so good, is because that's the throwing rocks at your enemies part. That's how you show people, like, I'm one of you. We ideologically align, and you want to buy my stuff because I'm just one of you. And it's like, when you get down into it, that's so much of what you're actually doing is just trying to find people that, everyone kind of wants to buy from. They want to support the people that are like them. And okay, well, if this is something you're about, then here's the big old thumbs up. Let's make me some money. Now, one of the things that you brought up was confidence. And confidence, obviously, we mentioned it. Getting over yourself is a big thing in any kind of marketing or sales. What did that look like for you? Like, if you specifically say, worded it with like knowing that no matter what the haters say, you're going to create what you want to create. What did that look like for you, kind of doing your thing?
It looked like a lot of fighting. I feel like I would get feedback. And people would say, "Oh, yeah, that's a bad choice," or "This is too extreme," or "I don't know what this is." And I would be like, "Well, the people that would love this, they know exactly what this is." Like, so on the cover of my first Crunchy Mama ABC book, I had an amber necklace was on the cover. It was like making a circle around the title. And I was on some self-publishing group and I was like, what do we think about this cover? Is it clear? Is it succinct? Like, do we like this cover? And I got this lady, she was like, you should not have that necklace. That's a choking hazard. It's unapproved by the FDA. It is there's no science behind the amber necklaces. That's just terrible. And you're putting children in danger. And I was like, well, you're not my demographic, I guess. Like, you're not the person I'm selling this book to,
I think my daughter wore hers till she was 3.
And so I was like, I appreciate your feedback, but like the people that will love this book don't agree with you. And I'm making this book for them. So I was confident that I knew what a crunchy mom would like. And you have to just fight off the people in the whole process. Like, when I was making my list, my daughter was like, medical liberty, that's too extreme. You can't say X factor. I'm like, there are 3 X's in X factor. I am not using that word. It fits in my extreme book. I'm gonna. And she's like, it's too inflammatory. And I was like, well, the people who like this will like it. So it was like fighting with people who were giving me feedback before I was finished, and knowing who my audience was, and so being confident in who my audience was. Like, that you have to have a degree of confidence in yourself that you're making a good product. But I think it was a lot of weeding through, like, is this good feedback? Is this bad feedback? Is this feedback that my demographic will appreciate? Does this not apply to me? And weeding through that kind of feedback and defending my work to people that just weren't in my demographic.
Well, that to me, it's interesting because it's like, how can you critique anyone's anything without knowing who the intended audience is? And like, a lot of different audiences out there. So just to tear something down without like whether or not, and maybe this is because you like writing books. I really like reading books, and I like looking at psychology. That's how I get into marketing. Is I love thinking about how people think and the words that, like, what words do to a person, and whether or not I like or have any feelings about what someone's writing. Like, I still have to look from a marketing perspective and from like the knowing your audience perspective. I have to look and go, it's like, okay, well, whatever my feelings are no longer matter. When I'm looking at this, I have to think who is, the what is it, the individual client avatar or whatever it is that you're aiming at. What is the ideal person that's going to purchase this? And are the words, the themes, the imagery, are they going to appeal to that person? And it's like, for anyone to like give advice that doesn't take that into consideration at the very least, it just seems like you don't know what you're doing there. But
I feel like people want to just tear down. They don't want to pause and look and see like who's this aimed at? Is this is somebody going to enjoy this? They just want a knee jerk reaction of what they themselves feel instead of like thinking about what that person that it's aimed at. Like I'm not going to buy a book about how to like put shingles on my roof or something, but a roofer would be interested in that book. So I can't tell somebody, oh, nobody would buy your book about roofing. What is this asphalt cover that I don't like the cover? And it'd be like, well, a roofer knows that this is a shingle. Like that's a weird example, but everybody has their niche and their knowledge, and they know way better than some critic.
well, and you know the dog whistles, you know the signals, you know what things mean to your niche at the very least. It's like it was, as you put it, it was a good way to know she wasn't your target audience when she goes on a tirade about the necklace.
Absolutely. Yes. And so you have to have a confidence to not like say, oh my gosh, should I take that off the cover? Like, whoa, I had this one strongly worded person hated it. Like, should I reply to that? Should I change my project for them?
Well, more importantly, do you, as an author, do you take what I would take that as is go, okay, this is an even better signal to my audience now, like, because this is a signal to the people that shouldn't be reading this book. Don't read this book. You're going to see this, and this should get away. We don't need you.
Yes. And so the lady that was my ideal demographic, the person who I was running things by to see what she thought of them, she was my avatar in real life. She ate it up. Like I have like they love it. They love it. And I know that I've done a good job because they just giggle and laugh and they point things out and their kids know what the words are. I had a paid review, which I would never do again. I had a paid review, and he said that the words I chose for my alphabet book were so far too advanced for a young child learning the alphabet that I should nobody should buy it, and I shouldn't have made it because the words were too advanced for the children.
Sounds like somebody who doesn't have homeschool kids.
Right? I was like, literally, I chose, like, he was like, I didn't even know what kombucha was. And I'm like, well, then you're not a crunchy mom who's buying this book. Like, if you don't know what kombucha is, if you don't know what the words in my book, like zeolite, nobody knows what zeolite is until they're in this group that knows what zeolite is. And those people know what it is. And so you have to just, it was a little hard to pay for a review and get such a bad one, but
And I don't want to harp on this. I mean, in my head, I imagine what a paid review is, but like, well, how do you go about that process? It's not something I've ever heard of anyone using, sort of like paying for like a big author to review your book so you can get that name on there.
Yes. Well, so what I call endorsements are when I send my book to people that are some sort of authority to that demographic. So a chiropractor, a midwife, different people if when you see, oh, a midwife, oh, a functional doctor, the crunchy moms would be like, oh, I know who that authority is. And I agree with that authority. So if they like the book, then I might like this book. That's what I call endorsements. I had never done this before. It was my third book. And I think it was through Goodreads. And so you submit your book, you can choose potential reviewers. So I chose people that were into homeschooling and like natural living. But if that person that you've chosen is busy or out of town, they just put it in the big pile, and somebody who wants to earn the money, they review it. And it was awful. I took this class and they were like, oh, get a Goodreads review. I think it was Goodreads. And it was,
Well, Goodreads is a good place to go. I mean, that's where I will look for reviews when I look at books.
Well, you can look up my book and look at his horrible review, and then you can go leave like rebuttals below. Because I've had a couple of people leave rebuttals. Like, my kids know what these words are, but yeah, that was. I haven't. I don't know if I would do that again, especially in a niche market, because you're not going to find your audience that way.
I should hope not. If you need like people in that market bad enough, just give me a call and I'll make it happen. Because I certainly know enough people after years of being in the circles I've been where I could probably get you a name or two that would help.
There we go. I'll have to keep you on my speed dial.
We're kind of rounding to the end of things here. So, is there anything that you would like to kind of get out there as like your advice to people that are terrified of marketing or they hate the idea of it, and kind of like the wisdom of your journey that you could like leave them with?
So, one thing that I have found really helpful way back when I was first homeschooling and I wasn't confident in homeschooling, and then later when I was like, I wrote a book, do you want to look at it? Like, I made like an elevator speech. And so that is like a few sentences of what you're talking about distilled down very succinctly. Because when I first started homeschooling, somebody's at the grocery store and they're like, why are your kids aren't in school? And you stutter and you stammer and you say something. And then 2 hours later, you're like, I should have said this. This would have sounded so much better. And what you need is an elevator speech, is some sort of like short paragraph that tells somebody exactly what you're, about. So I think having a speech like that for any project you're on, where when I contacted you, I had to give you a little sentence about what I was about. And when I meet somebody at the store who realizes I'm an author, or somebody comes up to my table on an event, you need to be able to speak coherently about whatever the topic is. And having that memorized and those words like at your disposal, whether it's in an email or it's out loud or whatever, that can lend you a kind of confidence because you're not thinking on your feet, and you can just plug it into the different places where you need it. And I think also, just like, I got that paid review and that was a fail and I wouldn't do that again. But I think just trying lots of different things. Some people are on TikTok and they love making videos, and other people want to teach classes. And so like really what you're good at when you're comfortable, that's what you should chase after, even if it's uncomfortable at first because it's new and it's about your product. But I think if you're comfortable in front of a crowd in your real life, you'll become comfortable in front of a crowd about your project.
Well, right on. Well, we appreciate you coming out here and talking to my audience. And to everyone out there, I thought this was a good one. Hopefully you all guys agree. If you don't, you can email me and tell me whether you thought it sucked or not. I won't tell her that, but we'll keep it to ourselves.
All right. Well, I'm so glad to have been here. Thanks a lot.